I am going to explain everything you need to know about CPP and OAS. Are you leaving money on the table? Do you know what you will receive? And what can you do now to increase the amount you will receive? Today, I will answer these questions and more. It's your favourite Scotsman here again, and let's start with the CPP or Canada Pension Plan. The amount you receive is based on how much you've put into the plan over your working life. During your working life, you contribute 5.95% of your paycheck and your employer contributes the same, unless you're self-employed, which means you get the short straw and have to put in both portions. There are limits though. You don't contribute anything in the first $3,500 you earn, and it caps out at $68,500, which is also referred to as the yearly maximum pensionable earnings. The maximum contribution for employees and employers is $3,867.50, which means if you're self-employed, you're forking out over $7,735 each year. Now, if that didn't confuse you enough, starting this year, enhancements to the CPP were introduced with a higher second earnings ceiling of $73,200, which is used to determine additional CPP contributions. As a result, earnings between $68,500 and $73,200 are subject to what is known as CPP2 contributions. Employee and employer CPP2 contribution rates are 4%, and the maximum contribution will be $188 each. If you're self-employed, you again get the short straw and have to put in the full 8% yourself to a maximum of $376. Okay, still with me? Excellent. Right, cut to the chase, Scotsman. How much will I actually receive? Well, surprise, surprise, the government hasn't exactly made it a very efficient process. Like trying to get something done at Service Canada over your lunch break, this might take a while longer than you anticipated. On the plus side though, you've got me to walk you through it. One approach to consider is taking a look at the yearly maximum pensionable earnings, which we just talked about. I will include a link to this in the show notes. A good estimate is that if your salary has consistently been close to or above the maximum amount for 39 years or more, then you're likely to receive close to or the maximum payment, which is currently $1,364.60 a month if you take your CPP at the normal retirement age of 65. The best option though is to call the CPP, and we'll leave the details in the show notes. You may have in the past received or requested a statement of contributions from the CPP or logged into your My Service Canada account. But please be aware that the estimates that are provided are exactly that. Estimates based on assumptions that may not even be correct. If you call the CPP and give them more in-depth detail about your situation, an estimated length of your career, and how much money you will make in that time, they can give you a more accurate number on how much you can expect to receive. You can take your CPP as early as age 60 or as late as age 70, but there are consequences to taking it early, and on the flip side, some nice benefits to delaying. Your CPP benefit is decreased by 0.6% per month for every month you take it prior to age 65. If you choose to take your CPP at age 60, this means you receive 36% less than if you took it at age 65. For life. The current maximum monthly pension you can receive at age 60 is $873.34. Conversely, electing to delay your CPP after age 65 results in a nice increase of 0.7% per month, which works out to be a grand total of 42% more if you delay all the way up to age 70. There are no further increases after age 70, and the current maximum monthly pension you can receive at age 70 is $1,937.73. There's a pretty big difference between those numbers, so don't take this decision lightly. Generally, I don't recommend to clients that they take CPP early unless they simply need the money or their life expectancy is significantly shortened. I'm not going to go into the full ins and outs today and reasons to consider taking early or delaying. We've done some other videos based on this topic. There is one other thing you need to consider when it comes to CPP though. The CPP calculation is based on how much you have put into the plan and how long you have contributed to it. We covered earlier the how much you have put in part, which is based on your earnings over the years, but the how long part is totally dependent on how many years you've worked in Canada between the ages of 18 and 65. And not every year counts. The 8 lowest earning years of your working life are dropped and excluded from the calculation. This does mean, though, that if you retire early at age 55, for example, you've got to keep an eye on your CPP benefit. Let's say from ages 18 to 26, your earnings were low as you started out in your career, and then you retired at age 55. This would mean you have 8 years of lower earning years and 10 years with no contributions to the CPP. Those 10 years would unfavourably count towards the calculation and start to bring down your overall CPP payment. In this case, you may actually be better off considering taking CPP early. One thing to note though, let's say you're 65, retired and looking at taking CPP at age 70. Don't worry about those 5 years counting unfavourably towards the calculation, as after age 65, they're no longer counted. Very quick break here. If you're sitting here wondering how CPP ties into your overall retirement plan, then join over 1,500 others and click on the link in the pinned comments to download your free retirement planning guide today. To quote one reader, Bob, it is the best retirement guide I have seen on the internet. Okay, back to it and moving on. Now, I'm going to come back to some tips to maximise your CPP later on, but let's cover OAS or Old Age Security first. This is a little simpler, sort of. You do not contribute to this plan. The benefits are the same for everyone as long as you've lived in Canada for 40 years after the age of 18. The maximum payment is currently $718.33 monthly for ages 65 to 74 and $790.16 a month for ages 75 and over. The OAS increases every quarter with inflation, so these are the July to September 2024 amounts. If you haven't lived in Canada for 40 years after the age of 18, then you've got to do a wee bit of math. You have to tally up every year that you've lived in Canada and divide it by 40. As an example, let's say you've lived in Canada for 30 years after the age of 18. You take 30 and you divide it by 40, which equals 0.75. You then take the maximum OAS payment, which is $718.33, and you multiply it by 0.75, which turns out to equal $538.74. Like CPP, you do have options on when to start taking your OAS, but they're not quite as flexible. Age 65 is the earliest you can start taking it. Similar to the CPP, you do have the option to delay up until age 70, and you do get an increased benefit every month for the rest of your life for delaying. The difference though is that you only get 0.6% of an increase for every month you delay your OAS, as opposed to the 0.7% you get for delaying CPP. If you go all the way up to age 70, this means you get a total of 36% more every year for the rest of your life versus the 42% more on the CPP. So, if you're choosing to delay just one of them, then go for the CPP, as you're going to get more bang for your buck. Old Age Security does have a bit of a curveball though. The dreaded clawback or pension recovery tax, as it is formally known as. You may want to check out another video of mine on 5 ways to avoid OAS clawback, which I'll include in the show notes for more details, but today I'm going to keep this relatively short and simple. In 2024, if you have an income over $90,997 or over, you will start to lose a portion of your OAS benefits. Once your income exceeds a total of $148,065 for ages 65 to 74 and just over $153,000 for ages 75 and over, you will lose it all. Not exactly ideal, is it? Although, let's be honest, if you're making that much in retirement, you aren't doing so bad to begin with. In any case, OAS clawback results in a reduction of OAS benefits by 15 cents for every dollar above the threshold amount and is essentially an additional 15% tax. You don't lose it straight away though. OAS is always a year behind. So, if you're over the threshold this year, you won't start to get clawed back until July of 2025. This brings me to the final point in OAS. At age 65, OAS is sent to you automatically. If you want to delay it, you must elect to do so. There's so many people out there who just don't think about this at the time and end up taking it, only to find out a large chunk, or even worse, all of it is being clawed back. If this video encourages even one person to make that decision, I'll be over the moon to have helped out. So, by now you should have a decent handle on how CPP and OAS work, and hopefully a rough idea of what you could receive. I did, after all, promise you some tips on how to maximise what you can receive from both pensions, and I'm nothing short of a man of my word. Let's start with OAS first, as it is relatively simple and can be broken down into 3 parts. Spend more time in Canada between the ages of 18 and 65, up to a maximum of 40 years, is the first one. Second one, elect to delay your OAS after the age 65 and potentially all the way up to 70 for an added 0.6% monthly increase. And lastly, make sure you avoid OAS clawback. Got that covered? Make sure you download your free retirement guide by clicking on the link in the pinned comment section, and let's move on to CPP. As mentioned, delaying the pension is the biggest one and will have the greatest impact, but here are 4 lesser known tips. Tip number 1 is for all the couples out there. Did you know that you can equalise your CPP with your partner? It's called pension sharing, and it can save you a lot in taxes, especially if one of you is in a higher tax bracket. It's a big deal if one spouse had a high paying job while another earned less or stayed at home with the kids. It's worth looking into, and I'll drop a link in the show notes so that you can learn more. Tip number 2 is for all the parents watching. If you've spent years raising your kids, I've got quite the tidbit for you. The child rearing provision allows you to exclude those years from the CPP calculation. That means those years you weren't contributing as much won't count against you. My wife has been at home raising our daughter, so this is something we're definitely planning for in our retirement. Yep, even financial planners have to think about their own plans too. However, keep in mind that you must apply for this when you begin receiving CPP. It is not automatic. Tip number 3 is for those of you that are self-employed. It's easy to get caught up in the allure of dividends, but remember, dividends don't contribute to your CPP. This could leave a pretty big gap in your retirement income. Let's put it in perspective. If you and your spouse both expect to get the maximum CPP at 65, that's over $32,000 a year, guaranteed for life. To get the same amount from an annuity, you need to shell out over $500,000. That's a lot of money, so don't overlook those CPP contributions. Finally, tip number 4 focuses on CPP survivor benefits. When you pass, what happens to your CPP? How much of your CPP will your spouse get? There are a lot of variables at play and far too much to cover in this video. But luckily for you, I've lined up this next video that will answer these exact questions and cover everything you need to know about CPP survivor benefits.